Yeah, we don't have to turn it in, is what she said. She said it was for another
Yeah.
instructor. That
Okay. Well, just in case, we are live, so we can go ahead and start our meeting. Okay, I'll read the questions. So do you guys want to briefly summarize the case?
Yeah, I can do it. Mine was relatively short. I think it was like 100 words.
Yeah.
So I just said this case study is about a 7-year-old boy named, I'm going to butcher all of these. I think it's Mohammed. And his father, Osama, who live in Gaza. One day, Mohammed was playing in the doorway and was hit by a rocket. He was taken to the hospital, and after
I just want to briefly summarize
hours,
the case.
Do we have feedback
yeah, I
somewhere?
can do it. It was relatively short. I think it was like 100 words. It sounds like
Yeah, I guess so.
That's weird.
I don't know who it is, but I hear it too. Does everybody hear it?
I heard it,
Yeah.
but I don't hear it anymore.
Maybe
I'll talk again.
headphones?
And then if it's still doing it, I'll grab some headphones. Maybe that'll help it. Okay, so he was taken to the hospital, and after a few days, he was recovering just fine. After the accident, Osama started to have deja vu of when his older son, Ahmed, was hit by a rocket and killed. They were living in very poor conditions during the invasion, and Osama had 2 kidney operations, followed by his son's death. Since his son's passing, they had another son and named him Ahmed, but they never fully recovered from this loss.
Does anybody else have anything to add to that?
The only thing that I added was the fact that Osama lost his job afterwards due to his poor health, and that he's on international assistance.
That's an excellent point.
And then I also mentioned the daughter who suffers from the fits of anger, who is in need of psychiatric help.
Yes. Okay. I didn't add that, but that's great. So I'm just putting those in my notes.
And this son also, that Abdul Kader kid suffers from nightmares.
Oh, right. The
'Cause it said
brothers
that,
had nightmares.
yeah, it said something about that many there believe that they're targeting civilians and trying to eradicate the Palestinians, including the son. That he wanted a gun because of it. So
All right.
would you add the part in there that how they did that digitally altered their son in a cap and gown of kind of showing how they're not really moving on?
I think, I mean, I put that down as a risk.
Okay.
Okay, are we good on the introduction, or does anybody else have anything to add? All right, so the next bullet point is list any principles or concepts from the course that can be applied in offering help or direction for this family. I really struggled with this one because I don't... Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says that someone left. Nope.
No, I'm showing 4.
Is Katie here?
Oh.
Katie? Is everybody here? Katie?
Well, it's saying she left, left, and joined.
I know, but... We can just wait a minute. Let me see if she sent me a... She just sent me something that said, Her computer crashed. She's logging back in. I'm going to send her the link again. Hold on 1 second. Hold on, sorry, she's trying to get on. Well, should we continue and then...
If she has anything to add, we can.
Yeah, let's just do that. I mean, she's been writing me on the Google Hangouts thing, but I haven't heard anything from her for a couple of minutes. Alright, let's just go to the list any principles or concepts from the course. This case study was hard for me to kind of grasp what concepts I would use because of the magnitude of the crisis, but I feel like the family would be most helped, I guess, through family councils. We learned in the couples dynamics under continuous threats that a lot of people, when they have high stress, that their marriage falters, and obviously these people live in high stress, and the only thing that I could think of was being able to sit down and being open and kind of discussing everything, coming up with emergency plans. And in the case study we read that this is normal for them. This is just how they live, and to accept with what they have, but try to make the best of what they have.
I thought it was interesting that they didn't mention a mom at all, like in kind of what she was going through. I assume they have one because they had another son, but it would be interesting to see how she was feeling through all of this, and I wish we could have had more detail because I think that could have given us more to say in this area. I had a really hard time with this one too.
I thought the same thing about the mom, and I was thinking it's got to be a culture thing, because you notice when they talk about the sons, they call them by name, but when they mention the daughter that was having psychiatric issues like that, they didn't give her a name. So I'm thinking this has got to be a culture.
Yep,
it is a culture thing right there.
Thing. So Julie, do you have what did you put for
that one? I I had family councils on there as well, but I put mood logs, thinking about how they can maybe work through their emotions and figure out what emotions they're feeling and stuff like that. And I put on there CBT, the behavioral therapy, because many of the family members are at risk for depression and anxiety. And I think that those skills in CBT will help them sort out their thoughts, feelings, and behavior because they were acting, actually the girl was having those issues as well. I put in there the double ABC model as well, because they were like dealing with not only the loss of Ahmed but also living in that war-torn country.
Right.
And then I put on their resilience, trying to make sure that there's appropriate coping skills in place so that members can bounce back if more loss occurs. Because the way they talked about it almost made it sound like just because this time Mahmoud or whatever, I don't know, Mahmoud, just the one that got injured. Just because this time he was only injured by the shrapnel, there might be a time when they're going to lose another child, or or more loss will occur because it makes it sound like it's a constant recurring, like, thing there, like where one day you're good, and the next day you're not able to go to school, and you're at home, and the air strikes, and then they give you the all clear, and then you go back. I mean, like, it's like a common occurrence. So those are the ones I had on mine.
I put resilience down too, and I kind of went back to the fact that is it me that has the feedback?
I'm not hearing anything now.
Okay, good.
I'm not hearing any.
But with the culture, is the mom's thoughts and action plans, is that respected enough to have resilience in their relationship? Or how, I guess my question is what does resilience look like in their culture?
Didn't he talk about that a little bit in the continuous threat in his lecture notes? I'm trying to pull everything back up, and I don't have them there. But didn't he touch a little bit on resilience in their culture?
Hold on, I have it up. I'm looking right now. I know resilience was talked about being important, but I don't remember. Hold on.
In what aspect? I just remember it being mentioned, but I don't.
But I still think it can be applied in offering help and direction for the family, the resilience part of it. Like, they might not have it. They might not have it currently, but that's a tool that they can use.
Yeah, because it mentioned something about how the mother, Osama and his wife, thought a lot about, or not in that, but sorry, in the study it talked a lot about how they had a mind, a oneness, an attitude of oneness coming together, and I think that's how they dealt with. I think that was their resiliency, if I remember right. But like I said, it's not in front of me. All my notes are gone.
Oh no. Okay, do you have your notes up to do what you put down for the principles or concepts?
I'm pulling it up, but it didn't save my last. It didn't do an auto recovery for some reason. So what I had was I had the family resiliency model, and then I had
Let's talk about the family resiliency model for a minute. Let's put that into action for this, because what was the family model? I can't.
And I'm trying to pull it up because that's all I have is the family resiliency model. Like everything I wrote after that is gone.
Raising. Does anybody know when we did that?
Was it chapter 9?
I think it was before then.
Before it?
I think it was.
Principals, couples. I have raising resilient children.
Yeah, it was about that same time. It was like the week before, week after. One was.
Individual and family stress crisis. Oh, yep, here we go.
That was it, yeah. Oh, this is so frustrating. I'm really sorry, guys.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. So vulnerability, that's the one that that's the word I was trying to think about. So obviously this family is very vulnerable because they never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And so they need to be open, and they need to be able to express their feelings when they feel them, which goes back to what Julie said about the mood logs. That would help them work through those problems together, because I mean, you don't want something to go unsaid or to go unnoticed, and so the family resiliency model is perfect.
The other one I had, I don't know if you guys had already talked about it, was the FAR model, the FAAR model. Did you guys talk about that at all while I was gone?
No.
I wanted to apply it because I think it works really well here, but I don't know if I'm the only one. I'm having a hard time grasping like all of the details of that model because it's so involved.
Yeah.
But it talks a lot about pre-crisis adjustment and post-crisis adjustment and adaptation. And I think that they're in an adjustment period, but I couldn't be sure. So I wanted to bring that up and see what you guys thought.
Well, I think they're in an adjustment period as well, because that goes back to the fact, like, that they have their son digitally altered into the cap and gown, and they named their youngest son after him.
Ahmed?
Yeah. They're not, they're still trying to figure out life, because if they were adapting, I think things would be trying to, like, move on. But it's like, did they have another kid in hopes that it was a boy to replace the son that they lost? And that's, you know what I mean? I do agree with you. I do believe that they are still in the adjustment period. And who knows how long they would be in that adjustment period.
I pulled a little bit from the actual case, and it says something about how they know that there's no substitute for the lost son, but they're really just trying to keep his name in the house. So, I mean, we could mention that in the write-up. That kind of is a good example of how they're trying to adjust or whatever.
But that's my thing. Are they just trying to adjust, or are they ever going to adapt to the life that they have?
And that's what I didn't know.
I don't know either. But I mean, and I don't think we need to know, but I think it's important to think about, because that's the FAR model, right? Is to see both of those stages pull out. Does anyone else have anything to say on the principles or concepts. Katie, just so you know, we talked about family councils, mood logs, behavior therapy, the double ABCX model when you were off.
Did you guys, and again, I don't know how to bring it in, but from next week's reading, the continuous threat.
Right.
Did you guys talk about that at all? I don't know how to even apply that because it was mostly just a study, right?
Yeah, it was a study, but we also talked about just recently, and I think you were here, but the family resilience.
Okay.
You know, and it does mention in that, and that does say that family resilience will help the quality of marriage, the quality of the relationships.
Perfect. Okay, then that's everything. You guys put everything that I had to.
Okay, so the next bullet point is list relevant risk, dangers, the family and its member space. Do you want me to just list mine off and we can just go down and everybody can put their 2 cents in?
That works for me.
All right, so I have the family risks the danger of losing all of their lives due to the war that is happening around them. They risk the chance of losing one or more family members at a time, like if their kids were at school and rocket hit the school, they would lose their kids. Excuse me. They're constantly living in fear. They would have lower marriage relationship quality because of all the stress and the environment in which they live in. Their stressful lives would lead to strained relationships throughout the family, not just the marriage. There was a loss of resources, which would mean if he couldn't work, would they lose their house? What else would they lose? Would they have to move? And he also said that this was normal in their neighborhood. So, you know, are they going to lose family? Are they going to lose friends? So they just have a lot of risk of loss.
And I think the anxiety levels are probably pretty high because you never know when an airstrike will happen as well.
Right.
And then you said also before that you put the digitally altered photo in this one as well?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
I had moved it down there to hear you say it, so I want to make sure I got the right area.
I just think that it's a risk because going back to what we were just saying is that they're not adapting to life. I think they're still just kind of adjusting, so they're not moving out of the adjustment phase to adapting to what's happening. But that's just my thought. I don't know if you guys agree with that, and I don't mind if it doesn't get down there, but
the only thing that I had that was different was, and it kind of falls under all of it, but it just says that the sons are especially in danger because they're considered more valuable in their culture. Like, it even said that in the little case study that the sons are of greater value. So I threw that in there because I don't know what it was talking about.
So that could add that the daughter has risk for not getting the help that she needs because she's of lesser importance. I hate to say it, but does that make sense? You know,
Yeah.
like, is the daughter is at more at risk because, I mean, like I think Julie said, like, we know everybody else's names except the mother and the daughter.
And the
you know,
daughter.
it's like, so if they have to get if she has to get psychiatric help, is she getting psychiatric help, or do they just know that she needs it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So the only thing that you guys touched on everything that I had. I had the relationship between Osama and his brother. I don't know if we know his name, because I believe that he.
Allah.
Yes.
Or Allah,
there you
or
go.
whatever.
Yeah, because he gets help from him sometimes. So that could possibly add stress if he's constantly asking for help or whatever. That was the only one.
Okay.
Because we talked about marriage, right? Dichotomy
Right.
and everything. Okay.
Does anybody else have anything? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay. Next bullet point is list relevant opportunities presented to this family as a result of this crisis. For me, this goes back to the family council that I had mentioned, that they can grow closer together as a family through this time of crisis, and they would also be able to help those around them cope with any loss or trauma, because they've gone through things. He's lost his job. He's gone through surgeries. They lost a son. So, just working together to kind of make the best of what they have, not only in their family, but in their neighborhood.
Those are actually the two I had. I couldn't think of anything else besides those two. I mean,
Well, what about the fact that, I mean, had the birth of another child. They
Yeah.
might not have had as well as one
that's
other I found
true.
there. And then
That's a good one.
I had another that because others around them, like family and neighbors, had faced similar situations, they have people around them that understand what they're feeling and can help them. So like a built-in support system. I don't know.
Yeah. That's excellent. Jessica, do you have anything to add?
No, I just talked about the assistance that he got, like the international assistance and the help from his brother.
The international assistance is a good point to make because, I mean, even though he had lots of resources, something was still available to the family.
Well, and I think it helps them see that the world doesn't think that they're alone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's not coming from within their own; it's coming from everywhere. That they have like they're part of a greater good. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They're not forgotten.
Yeah, they're not forgotten.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it also goes to show, like, not everyone is horrible. Not everybody wants to throw rockets at them. So it gives them kind of, like you said, it just kind of gives them a validation of where they are in the world. Okay, anything else? Sorry, I'm so tired.
Nope, I think we covered it pretty well.
All right, let's talk about no important relationship considerations.
So I again talked about the sons being more important, and I took a quote from Osama. He said, "Even if I had all the money in the world or a new baby every day, it would never replace his memory in my heart." So that just kind of shows how important his son really is to him, and it made me wonder, like, if it was a daughter, would it have been
The same
as
thing.
important?
Yeah.
And so then that kind of fits in. Again, I talked about how the daughter suffers from anger and needs psychiatric care, and how his relationship with the son could affect that. And then I talked about the mother and how I thought it was interesting that they didn't mention her. And it just would be interesting to see what she was thinking, because she had to have been going through a lot. She lost a son, one was injured, her husband lost his job, had two kidney surgeries, and so she was there through all of this, but they just don't really mention her, so I kind of talked about that as well.
And that's, like, I think that's, like, really important. Like, I know Katie has been in one of my discussions before, but my daughter has health issues, and I'm always more dramatic than my husband. Like, it's always harder for me to deal with what's going on. And so I did think about that a lot. It's like if my son had died from a rocket, like I would be devastated. And then if and then my husband would have these kidney surgeries and all this other stuff. It's like I would just be a mess, and I would I would need something more than just, hey, it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? It's like,
For sure.
and so I really do feel like the wife is not to like take away, but at like the biggest risk, because this is, I mean, she gave birth to those kids, and she, she's probably in constant fear of what's going to happen next.
Well, and it would be extra hard on her to just have her thoughts and emotions kind of pushed aside, like knowing that she wasn't as important and knowing that he was going to deal with his sons first. I'm sure she doesn't get a lot of say in what happens and and how it happens and how she's feeling. And I know that when I feel that way, when I feel kind of pushed aside, I do get really dramatic, and I need that attention. So I can't imagine being in physical danger and then also having your emotional needs just shoved aside too.
Right. And it's something that's hard for moms, and I mean, and dads too, but when your kids are scared, they're going to come to you for comfort, and you don't want to be breaking down hysterically and being like, it's going to be okay, because they're not going to believe you, so because you're losing it. So it's like, you have to be strong for your family. So I think that I put a lot of my relationships went back to like husband and wife, mother and children, father and children, and it talks a little bit more about the mom, but because I just think that the dad is going to be more like how a dad is, like, it's going to work out, it's going to be okay, things happen, this is just normal. But the mom will be like, it's going to be okay, let's talk about this, and I don't know what their culture is to say, but I just think that she's going to have more pressure.
I think we also need to think about the siblings, though, as well. If the siblings, not only the children, but also the father and his brother. Like the father, the brother feels like, it said in there how it was hard for him to accept his brother's suffering. This is Allah saying that it's hard for him to accept his brother's suffering, and then plus his financial support, and then also like the siblings. If you notice, the siblings aren't handling this all the same situation. Same way. Although they've all grown into that same environment, it seems like Mahmoud, I don't know, is more resilient in a way, because it talks about how he was, after his injury, he was like all smiles and being able to go back to school. He was like resilient, whereas the other siblings were like, the girl was acting out and he psychiatric care, and the brother was wanting a gun. They're trying to deal with all those different siblings. They're all taking it different ways, and I think that those relationships as well are being affected by what's happening in the home.
That's good, because Julie, I put down that same thing, and I also put down Ahmed's relationship with his father, because he was named after Ahmed the First, I guess we would say. I wonder if he feels like he has to prove himself in different ways. So I thought that was
to live up to or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing you mentioned, Julie, about how Mahmoud was, he has because he's 7 years old, he has a greater resiliency. You know what I mean? He's more able to bounce back, I guess. But that was the only one that I had different.
So how could that help his relationship with his kids?
I'm thinking the sibling-to-sibling relationship is what I was referring to. Is that?
No, I'm sorry. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, you're talking about kids, so I was confused. So it's kind of like, if you have a Debbie Downer for a sibling and you're like happy-go-lucky, those relationships are going to be strange. You're not going to want to be around Debbie Downer. And I think some of those other children might be experiencing like it just has gotten on them. The death of their brother or whatever has affected them where they're not coping. And so the relationship with Mahmoud can be strained.
Julie, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my computer froze for a little bit, and I didn't know where you were.
I was trying to put together what would the relationship be from and I can't remember any of their names, and I'm trying to get my thing pulled up. But the one who was hit with the rocket.
That's Mahmoud or Mahmoud.
Okay. So how could he? Because like you said, like after he was out of the hospital, he was smiling, he was happy, he got to go back to school in 2 days. How can he help his relationship with his siblings? Like, is he focused on, his brother wants a gun because of all this bad stuff, but can he say, it's okay, look, I'm okay?
There's a lot. I think there's a lot to be said by an example. I mean, again, he's only 7 years old, and so they might say, oh, he's 7, he doesn't really know what's going on. But at the same time, he had this huge thing happen to him, but he's still able to move forward. I think they can look to him as an example and say, oh, we can still be happy and, like, we can still enjoy life, of the quality of life that we have.
Right. All right, does anyone else have anything to add under that?
Nope.
All right, recommended coping strategies.
The one thing that I put, and I think we talked about it earlier, is how in the lecture notes they talked about how the husband and wife came together as oneness. They said they made comments that we are of one mind. So turning towards each other and moving forward together as a couple and a family. And then it also mentioned that a lot of the couples were undergoing couple therapy. So obviously that would be something that could help them move forward together.
I have the couples therapy too, and I went back to the family councils. I think that, being able to talk about something, in one of my other classes I'm taking Family 400. I don't know if you guys have taken that class already, but
Advocacy.
What?
Is that advocacy?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's theories.
That's theories.
Yeah, theories. That's right. I just watched this video last night, and it was a couple, and they talked about the importance of being able to be open and vulnerable with each other. And just, sometimes you have to take a deep breath and go, okay, like, let's work through this. But it's also important for them to have a dumping ground, someone that they can go to, whether it be a counselor or a family friend or friend. But to just be able to say, this is my life. I live in an area with high airstrikes, and I'm stressed out, and my husband is, do you get what I'm saying? Like, and so I just think like the family council is great, but they also need something. They need to be able to confide in someone else, whether that be a counselor or a family or a friend. Because the wife might be validated by somebody else if she's not getting it from her husband.
I also put on there that perhaps it seemed like it appeared. Yeah, I'm just like reading into it, but it appeared like they relied on a higher power, and so or they believed in the higher power. So I put in there to rely on the higher, like relying on a higher power to bring them peace and comfort might also be a way they can cope.
Yeah.
And let's see, and I think it was helping them. Getting the whole family professional help, not just the couple, because I mean, you don't have to forget about the one they don't have to forget about Ahmed, but they do need to understand their new normal, and I think that's something this family is missing is understanding that new normal.
And I also put meditation, not that they live in a very peaceful situation, but to just be to say, look at my, focus on what they have, be in the moment that they're in, and not worry about when the next airstrike is going to happen. Just be, because that is their normal, to be in the moment that they're in. Anybody else have anything to add? All right, so recommendation to supporting / involved parties.
Okay, now this might sound really heartless of me, but in a way, I felt like Allah was enabling his brother because he was feeling sorry for him and his loss and his suffering. I think so. I understand that he had like kidney issues, or you know what I'm talking about. But I think at the same time, his brother had a company, a construction materials company, and I'm sure there's something that Osama could do. Maybe he could sit in a chair and answer the phones or something, something instead of enabling him and just giving him money, give him the opportunity to be outside his home, away from that environment, and give him something to do to make him feel of value again. Because I'm just assuming because I'm not a man either, but for a guy to like have to rely just on everybody else and not be able to provide for himself and his family has got to be wearing on him as well, psychologically. But there's got to be something that he could do to work. Is that bad of me to say?
No, I think it's really good because it it provides a routine, and we know that routine and consistency helps in building resiliency and kind of getting back to, like you guys mentioned, the new normal. So I think that's a really good suggestion.
Yeah, so do I. I didn't think about that, but I think it'd be better to have one less thing on his plate. Like if he's not feeling like he is man enough or whatever, that even sitting at a desk and helping his brother would be something more than just sitting at home feeling worthless.
But even if it's like crunching numbers or like the answering calls, something that the physical labor isn't something he can do because of his medical conditions. But
right.
Just it was the wording that the brother mentioned in the article about. Basically, it made me. I'm like, he's like enabling him. He's not. He's like, he's. Where is it? He's living in very bad circumstances. He had two kidney. Let's see. No, yeah, that's right. All it says it's hard for him to accept his brother's suffering. Osama's living in very bad circumstances. He had 2 kidney operations, and the shock of his son's death took away half of his life. And as you know, to Arabs, consider sons to be especially valuable. But I think just like the whole, he's like saying it's okay for you to have these things, but not like. I mean, it appears to have been years ago, and he's still I don't know. I'm just heartless. I don't
No,
know.
no, you're definitely not heartless. Because I do agree. You
I'm
know,
just like,
it's
well, you know what? There's always something you can do. To me, there's always something you can do. Instead of just sitting there and expecting everything to. Like I said, it might be very limited things he can do. So maybe I mean, still compensate him financially as he's doing, but give him the opportunity to feel better about himself and to get outside that house where those constant
right.
reminders
Well,
of the doorway are there.
to allow him to work for the money that he's receiving, to make him feel like he's doing more than. Yes, he's supporting his family, but that's he's actually worked to support his family.
That was one of the things I had on there.
I'm trying to.
And then I thought also that there was, they mentioned in the story that there are others in that same situation, and so that perhaps they can reach out to this family, offering the support emotionally they need. So I think that because there are so many over there that are in that same situation, they have. I mean, I'm sure there's others that are in that same situation that have been able to move on, been able to adjust, not to adapt, and they could perhaps offer something. It's kind of, I guess, I kind of think like those 12-step meetings, and how when you do the 12-step meetings, that they talk about how they receive strength from one another, and I think that because there's so many in that same situation, that there's some that can offer that strength to help them through. I mean, there's going to be days when things get bad or whatever, but there is a way to kind of.
I think along with that. Go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead. That's fine.
I was going to say, I think along with that, if they, like, people should be reaching out to them and kind of help them, but if they could go outside and reach out to other people, you know, we're taught a lot in our church that when we kind of forget ourselves and we serve others, our troubles don't seem as bad, or it's, you know, it just kind of helps us out. And I know that when I've had hard times, if I make banana bread for someone, or if I'm just thinking about someone else, it kind of takes the pressure off of me for a minute. And I think along with them needing help from other people, I think if they helped other people, it would kind of help them see that, you know, there are other people in their situation, and if they can make it through it, then so can this family.
And that's what I have. Same thing. I said, in this case, we read that the father said that this is just normal where they live. Sadly, the support that they can give to each other is that they share a loss or trauma that has affected other families. And so just to be able to connect with them on the same level and be like create a support system. So that's all I have.
You guys pretty much touched on everything that I put. I put a lot about community support, because it is such a common way of life and quality of life, that they can just help with anything, like any everyday type of thing that they see. Like if it's a particularly hard day for a family, that for that family, they can kind of just go help them. But then at the same time, that family that just received help can go and help somebody else the next day. So I mean, it's just a community of trade-offs of just helping whoever needs help at the time.
All right, does anybody else have anything? All right, additional resources you may provide / suggest. I went
counseling.
back. Yeah, I went back to the family counseling, like to kind of even open that in their own home and say, you know, you come and talk to us, like going back into the community and saying, you know, let's be each other's support systems. That's all I could think about was the grief counseling and the family councils on a community level, like a community council, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did too, is referred back to the therapies and counselings that they could do. I also wondered if there was some sort of relief or healing process that happened when they were able to share their story. You know what I mean? Like, because they were able to talk about their situation and have it be published on, like, NPR, you know, have it be a piece or whatever. Like, if there's some sort of healing process with knowing that maybe you're not going to receive help from it, but that other people all over the world know your story.
So maybe like the hope that it will get better because their story has gotten out.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great point.
Maybe it wasn't discussed really before, and so keeping it in just made things worse.
Right.
Well, I mean, because we all know about the violence on the Gaza Strip, you know, we know about, but to kind of have it be on a personal level and see how it's affecting one particular family, I mean, it makes it more relatable, I guess.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And to see that, like, more than just one, you know, not that it's not sad, but, you know, their oldest son was killed, so it's like, oh man, that's so bad. But then to hear that basically the same thing happened again, and it just punctured his lung this time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to be like, man, so not only have they lost the son, they've also had the fear of a rocket hitting another son, but thankfully only puncturing the lung. Like, that's just huge. Like, to be like,
Right.
they really are living in constant fear. All right, does anyone else have anything to add?
No. That was one of the more difficult case studies, but I appreciate the opportunity to do it because it made me kind of thinking different.
Right.
Like, what are the resources available and things like that.
Well, and we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
No.
You know, we don't live in that constant fear of an airstrike or. So it was good to see the perspective, you know, from their point of view. So if no one else has anything to add, Julie, are you good?
Yeah, I'll get it on the